Google quite literally just killed the internet as we know it. For almost 25 years, this white box, the blinking cursor, the list of blue links underneath worked pretty much the same way. And so did the social contract behind them, where you publish, people search, people click, you get paid. At the center of that social contract was Google, handling 90% of every search on the planet, turning each query into ad revenue and sending that traffic out to the websites whose work made those answers possible. That is the deal that built the web, and it's being ruined in real time by this, Google's AI search. That's what we're going to explore. The big strokes of how open web actually works, how AI broke that loop, and what, if anything, can be done to fix it. Alright, I'm gonna use this Jenga set to visually represent the open web, but while I'm setting this up, I've got to tell you how Google search works in a nutshell. This is server 0793F, which lives here, in a data center in an industrial area of Dubai, somewhere between a tethered camel, a Friday cricket pitch, and Al Madina Auto Repairing Garage. And although server 0793F appears to be very unremarkable sitting next to thousands of others just like it holds something incredibly specific, a fragmented piece of the World Wide Web that isn't found on any other server in this entire building. So, if you type a word in here, say cookie, this entire data center and every server in it fires up trying to work out what you actually mean. Are you trying to bake a cookie? Are you checking the calories count? Or are you 7 years old and looking for the Cookie Monster? And even though the word cookie appears on millions of web pages, you'll get them all ranked in under a second, with what it hopes to be the most useful at the top and the least useful at the bottom. The ranking rules, by the way, are laid out right here, inside the Search Quality Evaluator Guidelines. 168 pages long, this is chapter 3, 17 pages. In here is exactly how Google decides what to put at the top and what to push to the bottom. In their own words, they want sites that can prove their expertise, authority, and trustworthiness. Now, what you have to remember here is Google can give us results that fast and that good only because, and I really want to stress this, only because long before we typed anything in, it had already downloaded a copy of the whole internet, scanned every page, and made a list of every word and every page it appears on. That includes the cookie recipe from our previous search, but also every blog post and every local news site and every travel blog and even every how-to guide. This is an interesting situation, isn't it? I mean, why would the entire internet happily let Google copy every single page? But the truth is there's actually a massive incentive for that. A lot of game theory embedded in it. You wanna know the nerdy economic name for this exact type of dynamic? It's a cooperative positive sum game with reciprocal financial incentives. Or, to put it more simply, it's because everyone made money. Let's suppose, for the sake of the argument, that we own this cookie recipe website. We've basically got two ways to make money. The first is to put our recipe behind a paywall. If someone wants it, they have to pay us 99 cents to get it. But most people will never pay to read a cookie recipe when 10,000 free ones are just a click away, so a paywall would keep our audience tiny. For that reason, we and almost everyone else go the other way. We give the recipe away for free and instead we sell the space around it. A banner ad here, a sponsor block there. Every time someone lands on the page, that view is worth a silver of a cent to us, which means we, like almost the entire web, live or die on one single thing: how many people actually show up? And this is where we come right back to the social contract we talked about earlier. For 25 years, we were perfectly happy to let Google copy our cookie recipe, because if they did, they would rank our website, hopefully near the top, and send everyone searching for a cookie recipe straight to us. As a result, we made money, Google took their cut and made money, everyone was happy. Okay, so then why on earth did I start this video by saying Google just killed the internet? Let me show you something.
I'm excited to announce we're launching a brand new intelligent search box. Now, this is the biggest upgrade to our iconic search box since its debut, over 25 years ago.
That right there, what she just called an intelligent search box, that is the internet killer as we know it. At first glance, it looks pretty much the same as the usual Google search box, just a bit bigger. But type in a question, press search, and what comes back is nothing like what we're used to. Instead of a list of blue links where you have to actually click one to find your answer, now you get the answer right away, and at first, you might actually be thrilled about it. Because if you are stuck on the side of the road trying to jumpstart a car, getting the answer instantly without digging through a website is exactly what you want. But remember, Google isn't generating that answer out of thin air, it just pulled it directly from a third-party website. And now, that website isn't going to get your click, which means the owner doesn't make money. And without money, what's the incentive to write content and keep the site running? That's not cheap. So eventually, they'll have to take the website down. That's exactly why the entire internet right now is like this Jenga tower. As more and more people go about their day Googling things but never actually clicking on links, more and more websites will have to be taken down. We're talking independent blogs and Wikipedia pages and niche forums and news outlets, big and small, until at some point even we have to shut down our little cookie website. And with that, I know, the internet is significantly more sophisticated than that little Jenga tower makes it look. Though it should give you an idea of just how fragile this whole ecosystem really is. There's also another interesting side to this story. Interesting and bizarre at the same time. You see, Google doesn't seem to mind taking everyone else's work and paying nothing for it. During the same Google I/O conference, the CEO Sundar Pichai said this.
And AI mode has been a revelation, our biggest upgrade to search ever. People love it.
But the data is telling us a very different story. In the first week after this update rolled out, users everywhere started complaining. And Google's direct competitor, DuckDuckGo, saw a massive spike in traffic, which might hint at a completely different trajectory for this entire story. I mean, what if this is not the end of the internet? What if this is the end of Google? You know, we could debate all day whether we should go back to clicking links or just adapt to the new reality if that's a fight you wanna have. But one thing should be clear, this whole AI-powered search is only getting started. And Google's monopoly is going to be challenged whether they like it or not. At the very least by the other three big AI labs, you know, Anthropic, OpenAI, xAI, which is a topic for another video, one I've already made for you, and you can watch it right here.